Hello guys, welcome to Case Officers Academy, and in this video we'll be talking about yet another important concept in international relations named anarchy. So without further ado, let's start. So talking about introduction, in everyday usage, the term anarchy evokes images of chaos, violence, and lawlessness. But we won't be discussing the word anarchy from a generic perspective in this video. We'll be dilating upon its meaning while keeping in view the international relations theoretical framework. So just keep this in mind, okay? So now we'll be moving to the basics, which is from where the word anarchy is derived. That is the roots of the word. So the word anarchy is derived from the Greek word anarchos, which means to be without a ruler. Okay, therefore, a state of anarchy can be said to prevail when there is no government to keep the peace. Moving on, anarchy versus civilized conduct. Remember, these are the anarchy and civilized conduct. These are the polar opposites to each other. Uh, so we can talk about anarchy by giving an example, which is Middle East. Okay, anarchy is often associated with periods of revolutionary upheaval and extreme social and political turbulence. Many countries in the Middle East, for example, can be said to be in a state of anarchy, where many leaders were overthrown, private militias sprang up, and the writ of the government was absolutely not. Moreover, anarchy is also employed by various movies, science fiction movies. So some science fiction writers and filmmakers are fond of employing the idea to depict the future of the human race. For example, the recently released season named Messiah depicted a dystopian and anarchic world. So, in this sense, anarchy is the complete opposite of the civilized conduct and expresses an extremely pessimistic view of human potential. Moving on, anarchy in international relations. Students of international politics use the term in a more specific way. International politics is said to be anarchical because no single state or coalition of states has absolute control over the entire system. There is no central government, and the peculiar character of the units operating within the international system is that they are sovereign and autonomous states responsible for their own fate, even though they may not be able to control it. So now we move on to the defining characteristics of this situation or the word anarchy. So it boils down to two things. Number one, states exercise legitimate control and authority over their own territory and answer to no higher power. And number two, states determine when it is appropriate to fight, when to make peace, and when to act in concert with others. Moving on, we'll be talking about Hobbes and anarchy. Remember, Hobbes was a realist, so let's talk about the realist point of view on this very important concept, that is anarchy. So, Thomas Hobbes was the first modern political philosopher to describe international relations as anarchical. While it is true that his political philosophy is primarily concerned with the problem of order within the state, his description of the international state of nature has had a major influence on the development of international relations theory. Hobbes uses the idea, sometimes called the domestic analogy, of a state of nature to show why rational individuals would and should prefer to live under an absolute and supreme power rather than living in a world without order. According to him, the state of nature is one of misery and hardship in which individuals continually struggle for survival. No matter how strong and powerful they may be, they are incapable of completely securing themselves against attack. Under these conditions, there is no time for leisure, social communion, or civilized behavior. Life, which Hobbes famously described as nasty, brutish, and short, is spent perpetually trying to outwit competitors in order simply to stay alive. This state of affairs is so oppressive that it is in the interest of rational individuals to give up their natural freedom and rights in return for protection and security against others granted by an all powerful ruler or leviathan. It is easy to see how this pre social condition is often said to be applicable to international relations, particularly among realists in the field. They argue that the absence of a supreme power capable of enforcing order across the entire system means that individual states are in a permanent state of insecurity and must be prepared to do whatever they can to survive in this hostile self help environment. The relationship between anarchy and war then is extremely close. Today, the realist interpretation of the consequences of anarchy for international relations is much debated in international relations theory. Moving on, and the relationship or how the liberal internationalists perceive anarchy. So, liberal internationalists argue that realists tend to exaggerate anarchy's effects on state behavior, though they do acknowledge that state of anarchy does prevail. So just like realists, liberal internationalists also do not ignore the fact that international system is anarchic in nature. So talking about constructivists and their view on anarchy, constructivists also accept that anarchy is the characteristic condition of the international system, but they maintain, and this is very important, that by itself anarchy means nothing. For example, an anarchy of friends is quite different from an anarchy of enemies, but both are possible. Now, what does this analogy mean? That anarchy of enemies and anarchy of friends. Well, friends are not part of the family and are now not under the strict control of a father who could be taken, as a sovereign. But they are friendly towards each other. Friends, despite the fact that they are not under the control of an all powerful father or sovereign, they are friendly towards each other. Hence it means that lack of a compelling sovereign does not automatically translate into lawlessness and chaos. In short, we can say that the nature and effects of anarchy among states depend a great deal on the particular level of analysis that different theories focus on and how they justify the character and relationship between different levels. So that's it for this video. In the next videos, we'll be talking about concepts like constructivism, international society, inter-paradigm debate, levels of analysis, liberal internationalism, prisoner's dilemma, realism, relative and absolute gains, and many other things. So do subscribe to the channel and put a thumbs up if you like the video. Thank you.